All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Brandon Love, and I'm a volunteer with the International Manifesto Group and an activist based out of Ottawa, Canada. Today's panel is entitled Anti-Imperialism and the Western Left. The idea for this panel emerged from the recognition that the Western left has consistently failed to oppose their own government's aggression towards working people of the world. This failure stems from the Western left's inability to understand capitalism's primary logic of accumulation, imperialism. In the imperialist world system, the developed countries in the US-led global north not only extract value from the global south through raw materials and human labor, but also through the underdevelopment and de-development of said countries through structural readjustment, color revolutions, wars, sanctions, and other means. Imperialism and the contradiction between the global north and the global south must be identified as the primary contradiction that will result in the unraveling of all others. And I just want to state that in another way. The defeat of imperialism on the world stage will allow the people of the world to pursue their own independent path free of Western imperialist domination. This does not mean that countries once freed from this imperialist domination will immediately become socialist or democratic or any other utopian notion, but rather the contradiction will no longer be between global north and global south on the world stage, but between proletariat and bourgeoisie on the national stage, without the US violently tipping the scales. However, this event does not intend on dwelling on Marxist terminology or a mere academic understanding of the imperialist world system, but towards a practical one that can help inform the Western left how to respond to today's local and international political struggles. The need for the anti-imperialist left to have ongoing discussions, to set out our case openly, compare experiences in different countries, and develop our proposals for dealing with issues confronting today's world is becoming increasingly apparent as anti-imperialists are derided by both liberals and leftists alike. Disparaging terms such as tanky, conspiracy theorist, or useful idiot, coupled with thinly veiled accusations of acting as foreign agents, have become ubiquitous, not only within mainstream liberal discourse, but increasingly within what has now passed as socialist or leftist currents, who take a neither Washington or Beijing stance. Such dismissals are accompanied by openly suppressive tactics, such as deplatforming, refusals to publish or engage with honest or factually sound refutations of propaganda claims, and the circulation of denunciations of fellow socialists reminiscent of the McCarthy era. The left's failure to grasp the central importance of imperialism in today's divisive geopolitical landscape leads to support for wars of aggression, uncritical regurgitation of unfounded or spurious propaganda claims, and support for far-right currents in other countries without the slightest concern for the actual program and policies of these movements, all in the name of a democracy that none of these currents even pretend to respect. This misunderstanding of imperialism also results in the Western left completely misunderstanding the role of anti-imperialist countries, socialist or otherwise. To take one example, China, regardless of the contradictions of its socialist development, has done more to advance the living conditions of poor and working people than any other government in history, but it is dismissed largely as an authoritarian dystopia. Outside of this bubble inhabited by a privileged 1/6 of the world population, most people of the world recognize China as a country in support of an international community with a shared future for humankind, based on common values, UN principles, and the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, as expressed not only in the preamble to their constitution, but in their actual existing foreign policy. China's real threat to the West is that it directly threatens its economic hegemony through its own sovereign economic development and its willingness to support other global South countries to pursue their own independent development paths, largely through their Belt and Road Initiative. However, it must be stated that anti-imperialist politics on their own are not enough. We must avoid and impose unprincipled mistakes, such as tailism, which is the act of reflecting in our own politics the most reactionary views of the working class. This is unprincipled because it undermines the political and revolutionary potential of the working class and assumes they cannot overcome these reactionary views. These reactionary views are instilled to sow disunity and discord within the working class. Not opposing them is tantamount to an act of class collaboration, essentially doing the work of the ruling class for free. Anti-imperialist politics must not be reactionary. They must aim to build the largest possible working class coalition. And today, the conditions are ripe for socialist organizing and agitation, but class struggle rages within the left when it should be waged by the left. That section of the Western left, which is proving unable to understand the role of imperialism in shaping today's conflicts, not only places itself on the verge of historical irrelevance, but becomes a real threat to the advance of socialist and worker struggles. At the same time, a genuinely anti-imperialist left is emerging and growing as more and more activists, sickened by the hypocrisy of their government's propaganda, examine it more and more critically. This new left is not prepared to take at their word the elites who at one and the same time armed Saudi Arabia, vilify and sanction the critics of the Israeli apartheid state, whilst imposing vicious and punitive campaigns of economic sanctions and regime change against the poor people of not only China, but Venezuela, Cuba, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Russia, Iran, indeed any country whose government, for whatever reason, stands up to them. The cause of the most urgent problems facing humanity, notably war, mass poverty, racial and gender oppression, ecological destruction, and pandemics, have to be debated out in the framework of a clear understanding that they are products of imperialism. Their solution has to be debated out in the framework of an equally clear understanding that they cannot be solved without a thoroughgoing defeat of imperialist aspirations and actions.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.